Hello everyone, it's me, Sunday, and welcome back to the Minecraft how-to. So last time we set up all our different animals, our chickens, our sheep, our pigs, our cows, which I do need to kill a few of them. So let me just get that out the way. Okay, not too bad. 20 more leather, 41 food, which we'll be able to cook up later. We are good right now for bread. However, today is all about crops. We got the animals, now it's all about crop growing. But of course, we need to look at the poll. So I asked you guys last week, what animal do you get when you first get into Minecraft? And with a staggering 71% of the votes, our winner is of course the sheep, as everyone is trying to get a bed. Unfortunately, the pig, the pig had a zero votes. So sorry pig, nobody likes to get you when they start in a new Minecraft world. Now when it comes to crops, at least according to the fandom wiki of Minecraft, the crops are classed as cultivated plants or agricultural produce, such as grain, vegetables, or fruit, which can be considered as a group. So that opens us up to more than just the wheat, the carrots, the potatoes, and the beetroot that we have already looked into. And that's going to open us up to carrots, potatoes, wheat, beetroots, but also melons, pumpkins, cocoa beans, sugarcane, the sweet berries, cactus, as well as glow berries. So what I'm going to do, we do need this bucket. First, we're going to look over the mechanics of the irrigation for when you are farming in Minecraft. So I have a stack of seeds already. So when it comes to farming in Minecraft, like we've talked about before, you can farm away from water. However, this is going to be classed as dry farming. Once this crop is grown, if you harvest it, this will revert back to normal dirt eventually, and the crops will grow slower. As you can see here, it changed back, so I can't use it. So if you want it to always remain as farmland, you're going to want to be putting it against some water. And I will take that ink sac from the squid that beached itself. Now you can find a body of water as we've done, and you can go up to 4 blocks away from the water. And I do believe that I don't think that it goes up a block, but I'm going to do that just to double check for you guys. However, when it comes, if you wish to farm away from the water, best practice is to take your bucket, if you have one, and stick it down. And then from there, you can do a 4x4 square, which will give you a pretty good amount of farming to start with. Now, as the sun is already almost setting, I think what we're going to also do is quickly plant the potatoes and the single beetroot we already have. And then we can go over the 4 basic crops: potatoes, wheat, beetroot, and carrots, before we go exploring to get all of the remaining ones that we need. Of course, we already have sugarcane, so we can also go over that before I head on out exploring. So I think we'll stick the beetroot over here. We can grow up this corner here for the beetroot, and then the potatoes can just go here for now, and we'll eventually fill it in. And yes, as you can see, the water has only irrigated the same Y level that it is on. It has not gone up a block, so this would again be classed as dry farming. However, before we sleep, we can talk about the idea of bone mealing early on in the game. If you want these crops to grow quicker, you can use bone meal. So the best practice for that early on, I just stick some torches down here as well to protect the area. The best practice is going to be waiting for the sun to set, and then once the sun has set and you see your first mob spawning out in the distance, we're gonna run to bed, reset the day, and once the sun rises, it's gonna burn up all of the mobs. And if you're lucky enough to spot a skeleton out and about, you'll then get some free bones, which we can use as bone meal. One more thing about these torches, we're going to be talking about the light levels. So using the mod I had, you can see the light levels here are relatively low. Now, if you are wanting your crops to grow in the open, is going to be okay. You know, during the day, the sun level will be enough for these crops to grow. However, if these are covered up in a building or something, you are going to need a light level of 9 or above for these to continue growing while they're inside. Yeah, and as I can see some mobs over there that I've spawned in. So I'm quickly going to run to the bed, sleep, reset the day, and if we're lucky, there will be some skeletons nearby that will burn up in the sun, and then we can use their bones. As we can see, I think I see one burning up over here. So once he has burned up, hopefully he's going to drop us a few bones, which unfortunately he did not. That is very unfortunate. So let me quickly see if I can find some more lying around somewhere for us to use. So it does look like we were unfortunately quite unlucky in regards to finding a skeleton for some bone meal. However, if we had have got one, if we pretend this arrow is one, I could have put it in here and that would have turned into 3 bone meal, which if I'd have then used on the crops by right clicking, would have grown them up and sped up their growing process to help them finish quicker, to eventually, for wheat example, this is their final state. And for carrot, this is their final state. Ignore these flowers. In fact, I should probably turn off the flowers that I am using so that you can see this would be the final version for the carrots. We've talked about previously where to find the wheat. The most easiest is to find them in the village farms, but also quite easily by breaking the grass. You're going to eventually come across many wheat seeds which you can then plant down. However, for the carrots, for the potatoes and the beetroot seeds, you're going to be initially finding them in different villages as you go exploring. And I'm going to put a picture up on the screen showing you the best villages that you can find them in. So for example, carrots, your best bet is going to be the plains village, whereas beetroots would be the desert. And for potatoes, the snowy villagers are actually your best bet for finding those. Of course, there is a chance of finding them in different village types, but apart from that, the only other way that you could potentially find potatoes or carrots early game if you go exploring is through a zombie dropping them. It is a small chance, of course. There is only a 0.83 chance of them being dropped by a zombie husk or zombie villager, but it is potentially another way you can initially get those early on. Carrots, beetroot seeds, and potatoes can also be found in other places at exploring, such as your pillager outposts, your shipwrecks, woodland mansions, and I will quickly put a picture up on the screen again showing you the chances of finding them in those different places. But because the chances are so low, it is probably best that you try and find them again in the different villages while you are out exploring. So that's it for the 4 basic crops. So very quickly, again, looking now into sugarcane. Sugarcane you're going to have to place down by the water side. It has to be on some form of dirt or grass or mud. But of course, it can also be placed on sand, and this is going to grow up naturally to be 3 high after you've planted it. You may potentially find 4 tall sugar canes out in the wild, which just means they've spawned very randomly. They should only spawn at 3 high. However, what you're going to do, like I just did, you're going to break off any excess from the one at the base so that you can quickly plant it down and continue to grow your sugarcane. And it is a very quick and easy way to expand your fields later on before we set up automatic farms. Sugarcane is going to be useful for you as you can, of course, use it to make sugar if you wish to make things like cakes or cookies. But mostly you're going to be using this to craft paper, to turn it into books like we did using the leather. And using those books, you can start buying your enchanted books for later on, but also making bookshelves for later enchanting setup. Now, if you are struggling to find sugarcane out in the wild for some reason, and you happen to come across a desert does have a much higher chance of spawning in sugarcane. So that is one of your best bets if for some reason you really are struggling to find the sugarcane. And also it's worth noting that you cannot place it diagonally from a water source. It can only be directly next to it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go out exploring to the various different biomes we need, and when we get there I'll bring you back and explain the biomes that we are in and the crops that we can find there. But of course, before we go, I am going to need our leather armor that we made in the previous episode to give us a bit more of a chance to survive. And of course, it is best to take your bed with you so that you may sleep through the night. And if you do have a bucket, if there is the off chance that you do wish to go caving and you don't wish to fall to your death, always worth taking a bucket of water, as you can place it on the side of a block and it's gonna give you a nice easy path down. I'm gonna break my crops. No, we got lucky. But it's gonna give you a nice easy path that you can swim down instead of dropping to your death. So let me just head on out and I will bring you back when we find some of the crops that we need. Now, while I am exploring, I should say there are a few crops I'm not going to be covering in today's episode, namely mushrooms and the things that we get from the nether, such as the nether wart, and things from the end, such as the chorus fruit, as we haven't gained access to those areas. And of course, the sea kelp and the sea pickles, that is an ocean crop. So again, I'm not really going to touch on those either. And the more advanced things such as the torch flowers or picture pods, again, because they are quite difficult to get early game, as you need to find a sniffer and they will find them for you. We're only going to be talking about the crops that I initially mentioned in the episode today. So as we continued exploring, I have made myself a boat just so we can explore further a little quicker. It does look we are coming onto a savanna biome, and because we found a savanna biome, it is likely that we will find other hotter biomes surrounding it, such as the desert or jungles, which we need to find some of the crops we need. So I'm going to hug this coast and see what we can find, and hopefully we can find some of the biomes that we are looking for. Now, it does look like we've looked out a little bit here. The savanna biome has turned into a desert, and it also seems to have a desert village for us, which might potentially help us out as well in certain regards. But first, I can see some cactus up here, so I want to go and grab that for us first. Now, the thing to say about cactus, of course, because it's a cactus, it is spiky. If you get close to it, you are going to get hurt. So you need to be careful, especially if you are on low hearts. And as well, because of the spikes, if you throw an item towards it, it will be destroyed. Now, luckily, I do have an extra boat, so we are okay to get back home. So you do need to be careful when tossing out items near a cactus, as they could potentially get broken. But we're gonna grab the cactus here that we are finding and take it home with us. The cactus may grow up to 3 blocks high, but again, like the sugarcane, might potentially grow up to 4 blocks high if it spawns 2 cactus plants on top of one another as the world spawns. And as you can see, like we said, the sugarcane is going to spawn a lot more in the desert biomes, and there is a lot here that if you were in a pinch, you could grab and take home with you. So let's see as well what is in the desert. And as well, what I'm going to quickly do is grab some pieces of sand to take home with us, as we are going to need them for the cactus later. Now, the desert villages might also provide for us some pumpkins, but first let's finish the cactus. You might also, if you for some reason are not finding any in the local area, you might find a single cactus in a flower pot. So the villages themselves are also useful for finding potted cactus. Cactus as well can be used for breeding up camels later on in the game if you so wish. Gonna feed this one now because it looks so cute. I love the camels in Minecraft. We're gonna have to come back and get one of these. And I suppose a bit like the animals from last episode, if you're carrying the food that they enjoy, they are going to follow you. Now, I will grab this pumpkin while we are here, and when you pick up a pumpkin, you are going to pick up the pumpkin as a whole, and you can turn the pumpkin, one pumpkin can be turned into 4 pumpkin seeds, which we can then plant when we get home. I'm going to go over pumpkins again later when we find some more, to go over where you can also find the rest of them. But as you can see here as well, inside the desert villages themselves, there is in the chest, a 80% chance of finding cactus as well in these villages. And we also managed to pick up some green dye, which if you cook up the cactus is something that they can be used for. The desert villages also do have their own crops, and potentially we might be able to find something useful. Doesn't look like we have this time, however. Although this does look like it's going to be a melon seed of some sort. So what I'm going to try and do, just to double check, is bone meal up just to see what that is. So now we can see that I'm using the bone meal on these crops. If you do it, it is going to grow up. And yes, it looks like we do actually have a melon seed in this desert village, which again is going to save us having to go exploring in the jungles. Now the melons themselves in the villages only have a 10% chance of spawning in a desert village, 20% if it was in a savanna. So if this village was over there, potentially we would have had a slightly higher chance of finding this. Now the thing about melons and pumpkins is they are gonna grow on a stalk, and once they have grown up fully, like once they are here, the final growth generation, you can't bone meal it, you're gonna have to wait to grow it. But these are going to grow in any direction away from this stem if they can. They obviously cannot spawn here because of the water. However, they can spawn here because it is a farm block. And this is the same for pumpkins. So definitely when you are making these farms, you need to allocate space for the actual pumpkin and melon to grow off of this stem so that you can then harvest it. Now, unfortunately, it does look, oh, there is a creeper coming. Now, it does look like this melon is taking a little bit of time to grow up, but I'm happy that we found one and I kind of explained a bit of the mechanics. So while I'm running away from this creeper, I think it's best if we just carry on and try and find some melons out in the wild and run away from the creeper. Goodbye. And not too far away, we have found a jungle biome, which is also one of the places where we will be able to find the melons, but it's also going to give us access to one of the other crops we talked about today, which is the cocoa bean. So once I've landed, let's start searching. And of course, there is a ruined nether portal here. However, I'm not going to look at it today, as you know, it gives us a reason to come back later when we have an episode on exploring the nether. Now, pulling up to the edge of the water, it does look like we have already found our first cocoa beans, and these are going to, this one is not fully grown yet, but you are going to find them growing off of the side of jungle trees in the jungle biome. And if I break them apart, we are gonna get one cocoa bean from this one. However, there are potentially, you know, you can get more than one from breaking apart a cocoa bean. So I'm going to have a search around for some more cocoa beans, but also some melons. And also while I'm here, here we go. So in here, we can see the different stages. This is the fully grown one, and that's gonna give us 3 cocoa beans, whereas these ones are just going to give us 1. And I am going to grab some some jungle wood while we're here. Cocoa beans will only grow on jungle wood. So it's very important that if you wish to grow them, you do grab some jungle wood while you are here. Okay, so it looks like we found our first melons. It's only a small patch though. I can only see 3. Oh no, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what you're gonna do to gather these up, you're gonna be using your axe to gather them. And unlike the pumpkins that stay whole, these will turn into melon slices. And with the melon slices, one can turn into 1 melon seed, which you can then use to grow later. And if you did wish to save on some inventory space and you had lots, using your crafting table and putting 9 together, you can again form 1 whole melon. And then in addition to that, you might also be able to find melons like that, but again in piles of melons, and you can find them sometimes in savanna villages, but also potentially in the woodland mansions. But now that we have all of the things associated with the jungle and the desert, our next thing to try and find is going to be either a lush cave for the glowberries or a spruce biome for some sweet berries. So again, I'm gonna hop into the water and I'll get back to you once we've found what we are looking for. So on our way back, we've kind of almost found our way home. It's just over there because I forgot about this pile of pumpkins. So we did get one already, but I am gonna pick these up. But like we said, you can probably find them out in several biomes out in the open as piles like this, so it makes it very easy for you to find. Of course, there are other places that you're going to be able to find them, such as the tiger villages or even a village outpost, but I don't recommend taking on a pillager outpost, sorry, this early on in the game. Yes, Mr. Creeper, I see you. But you know, there are also other places such as the shipwrecks, which you might find in the ocean, which also have a small percent chance of around 14 of getting you the pumpkins if you don't have them already. But yes, as we are home, I'm gonna keep on venturing this way to try and find the missing spruce biome that we need to finish off this episode. I know we're currently on a mission to find all the crops, but I can never pass the opportunity up of getting the lily of the valley because it is my most favorite flower in Minecraft, and it would feel like a crime to not take them home with us. So after a quick sleep, I have come across a small field of sweet berries. So a bit like the cactus, you don't want to be getting too close as it is going to hurt you. And for harvesting these, breaking the entire bush is going to give you some of the sweet berries. However, if you wish to harvest them to keep the plant growing, right clicking them is going to pick up the berries for you. So even after they have been harvested, it is going to hurt you. So best to be careful around the sweet berries. And there are ways to negate the damage it does to you when you get close to it, but we will talk about that when we get back to base and start planting all of these things back down. So that means the only thing we have left to get now, the glow berries, and we are going to have to either find a cave in the floor which opens up to a lush cave, or happen upon an azalea tree, which if we are super lucky might be somewhere in this spruce forest. Well, it definitely took a while, but I did find an azalea tree. Now, an azalea tree means that underground below it is going to be a lush cave, and a lush cave is where we are going to find the remaining crop, which is going to be the glow berries. So if there happens to be a cave nearby, you could go on down all the way and explore. However, because this is flooded, we are going to dig ourselves down, and the best way to find it is to follow this route to dirt, as it's going to lead us directly into the lush cave below. So we came a long way down, but we did manage to find our way into a cave. I forgot to hit the record button, but I bridged over, sorry, to get a glowberry from here. However, very quickly, if I go over to get these ones, all you need to be doing if you wish to harvest the glowberries, a bit like we did for the sweet berries, right clicking is going to make the berry drop, and then we have our final crop for today. And now we can head on home, so I will catch you when I get back to base. Home sweet home. So now that we're back, all the crops we already do have are gonna start growing up. But let me quickly arrange all of the ones we got for today, and we can set them all up and bring ourselves to the end of the episode. So going over a few things: carrots done, wheat done, potatoes done, beetroot done, sugarcane is done. But I think to fill out this space, we can quickly go over it. So don't forget, sugarcane itself can only be placed next to the water itself. It's not going to be able to go diagonally. And for your cocoa beans, when you are growing them up, you are going to have to place them onto jungle wood. It's not going to grow on any other type of wood, and it is rather quick in growing, so you can actually use these as a very good source of early bone meal in game if you are near a jungle and you are really struggling for bone meal in the start of the game. For our glow berries, what we are going to need to do, they are vines in a way, so they are going to hang down from a roof. So you are going to have a block hanging in the air, which you can then put the vines on themselves, and there is a chance as it grows for the block itself to grow a glow berry. However, if you do not have any glow berries growing, but you do want them, using some bones that I found earlier exploring, we can like turn it into bone meal like I talked about, and that is going to cause the glow berries to grow, and right clicking on them again will cause it to drop. And then you can quickly bone meal them up again to grow your glow berries. The glow berries as well have the secondary use of they do act as a light source, so they're very good if you want to not use torches or lanterns in your build to give a bit of light and atmosphere into your builds. And already, as you can see, this has grown up within the 1 or 2 minutes it took me just to bone meal those glow berries. So definitely cocoa beans, a very good source of bone meal if you need it early game. Turning to the cactus. Cactus is a little bit interesting in that it can only be placed on sand. I cannot place it on the dirt here. And in addition, you are not going to be able to place it next to another block. So this will grow up now that it is on sand. However, because this block is here, if I place a cactus, it will not let me place a piece of cactus here because this will interfere with the spikes of the cactus. However, if you leave a block here itself, when the cactus grows, this block here will automatically break, allowing you to auto harvest. And that is a very quick and easy way to set this up as an automatic farm. If you place as well water below, you can funnel all of the pieces potentially into a hopper and then into a chest. So this is one of the easiest automatic farms that you could set up early game if you want. However, cactus does have a very limited use in regards to green dye. So that leads us to our final 3 of today. So I am going to get a little bit of water and set up specific spots, I think here, for the pumpkin and the melons. And of course, what you are going to need to do, if I had a hoe, one moment please. So quickly crafting up a stone hoe, we can make some spots here for the pumpkins to grow. And if I just push this back a little bit so we have some room to work with, we can make, for now, using 1 slice of melon to make 1 melon seed. I'm going to plant 2 melons on this side, and then on the other side we are using 1 pumpkin to make 4 pumpkin seeds. We will plant our first 2 pumpkins. And what's going to happen, of course, these are going to grow up. They are going to grow if I can bone meal, they're going to grow a stem like this. And once the stem is fully grown, there is a chance of the melon or pumpkin spawning on the blocks around it if it is grass or dirt or farmland. And this means we now have our own farm set up for this. Once you harvest the pumpkin or the melon here, this stalk will revert back to its upright state like this, and eventually a new pumpkin or melon is going to form. And that leads us finally to the sweet berries. Now sweet berries, when they're in their growing stage, they don't hurt, as we've seen before. However, if you are wanting to walk up to them and not be hurt or stabbed while you're harvesting them, simply place a trapdoor above them is going to negate this from happening. So now you can easily walk up to them, you will not get hurt, and you can harvest the berries as much as you wish. This also stops potentially villagers from hurting themselves if you have them walking around. It allows you to use this as a decoration block without the villagers ultimately walking into them, hurting themselves and killing them. And now that some of these crops are grown up, as you can see, harvesting 1 beetroot is going to potentially give us some extra, so we can start expanding on our beetroot field. And the wheat field I'm not going to expand much on for now, as we do have a lot of bread already, but I am going to quickly harvest the ones that are fully grown before we finish off today's episode. And that also goes for the small patch of carrots that we have here as well. And there you have it, everyone. We have all of our crops for the future of our Minecraft world. Of course, there were a few we didn't go over. The nether crops, the end crops, mushrooms, and the advanced ones like the torch flowers or the picture pods. But I hope you found today useful. We went over where you can find them, how to plant them, some of the mechanics for them, especially the sweet berries and the cactus, as well as the light levels and the water mechanics. So thank you everyone for tuning in today. I hope it was very useful for you, and this has definitely gonna help you in finding and growing some of your crops in the early stages of Minecraft. But for now, I've been Mysandria, and I will catch you all next week, where we're going to be looking into collecting all of the wood types before finally the episode after upgrading our armor and getting our first proper collection of iron, because doing these episodes with nothing but stone, oh it's hard, it's difficult. Thank you everyone for tuning in. I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye for now.